I'd like to bring in Congressman Mark Harris of North Carolina to continue this discussion on the government shutdown. First, what do you have to say about it, Congressman? Thank you for being here. You guys are in district, you just told me, because you passed your continuing resolution, a clean CR, and it's been sitting there waiting for Senate approval. So you guys took the week to go back to the district, right?
That's correct. We're working in district this week, waiting on the Senate. As Ron Johnson so clearly expressed, this is the Schumer shutdown. And a little over 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago now, we passed a clean CR. We did what we should have done. We passed 3 appropriation bills out of the House. The Senate's passed 3 out of the Senate. And so we really were coming on that deadline of September 30th and have more appropriation bills that have been passed out of committee that we've got to get on the floor of the House and get them out. And so we simply did a clean CR to extend the date to November 21st to give us the opportunity to keep the government operating, as you said, at the same standards we had, and we were moving toward that November 21st date. And no frills, nothing added on, no riders or anything like that. And 13 times previously, you would have expected, as Democrats have always done, they would have voted for that CR. But this is really Chuck Schumer's moment. He feels like that they are losing at every turn, and they are. And I think he sees this as the only chance he's got to grab the camera, the only chance he's got to make a stink about something. And what's really crazy is if they'll just vote for this, we'll come back. We'll have the conversations, government will operate, and these things he keeps talking about, we've got till the end of the year to get that done. And those conversations will happen. He's not going to get his way, I don't think, ultimately. But the bottom line is you cannot hold the American people and you cannot hold the American government hostage because you're losing. Listen, their own famous line is elections matter. And the people of this country said that in November of 24, when they gave us the House, they gave us the Senate, and they put Donald Trump back in the White House, they wanted to do government differently. And we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut Act, and they're looking for any way to hold us hostage and hold the American people hostage.
You know, I heard Mike Johnson, the speaker, asked about this over the last couple of days. Shouldn't you negotiate? He says, we have nothing to negotiate. The Republicans didn't ask for anything. It's a clean continuing resolution. We didn't put anything in there. What would we negotiate? I think that's a fair point. Your thoughts?
Yes. That's an exact point that everybody, and I think the American people are getting it, because again, President Trump is not an average politician. President Trump is a businessman. He has an agenda. He's simply working to move America forward. He is wanting to accomplish the things we set out to accomplish. And so it was no sense loading up a CR with things to negotiate and fight over and take this away or add this in. It was a clean CR everybody could agree on, keep the government open, get us to where we needed to be so these appropriation bills will be passed. And the Democrats just said, no, we're going to take a chance. I call it a Hail Mary. I think they're just throwing a Hail Mary down the field and somehow hoping it's going to work out for them. But I think the American people see the reality of what they're doing, and they're going to start feeling the reality when we get to the middle of the month. Everybody got paid at the end of the month. The 1st of October, if you will. And now we're going to get to the 15th. And when you start having our military unable to get their paychecks because of Schumer's shutdown, it's going to be a different story. And I'm praying that there are going to be several of those Democrats come across the aisle and say, look, enough's enough. Let's pass that CR, and we'll have the conversations about the credits and all of those things they want to have on health care down the road.
And we'll see how that plays out. We've been in this, I think we've got a clock as to how long we've been in this shutdown. It rolls on, and right now there's no end in sight, so we'll have to keep an eye on that day by day. Now, let me shift gears here for a moment, because the governor of your state, Josh Stein, recently signed Arena's law into effect. This law will apparently increase watch on criminals considered for bail and prohibit the use of cashless bail. This comes after 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska was stabbed, as you know, there in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a Democrat signed this law, limiting cashless bail, limiting the criminals, the career criminals who can get back out on the streets. What do you think about this?
Well, I'll tell you, he didn't do it without pain and suffering and turmoil and wringing his hands. He waited until the last hour of the 10th day that he had to sign it. If he opted not to sign it at all, it would have become law. If he would have vetoed it, it was pretty clear that it would have been overridden by the legislature. So, again, I'm grateful he signed it, and kudos to Governor Stein for doing so, but it wasn't because he wanted to. And the truth of the matter, it's a good law, and it does some things. When you go back to the hearing that we held here in Charlotte, our House Judiciary Committee had a field hearing a week ago this past Monday, and it was a gut-wrenching experience to hear the testimonies of those. We gathered, obviously, to talk about Irina Zarutska, what had happened to this beautiful 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee who was here in the United States. And yet, in the midst of gathering for her, hearing the incredible testimony of a father, Stephen Federica, that described his daughter Logan. And listen, we had a situation with Irina of a guy who had been arrested 14 times, spent 5 years in prison, obviously had mental health issues, and yet a magistrate allowed him back out on the streets less than a month before he stabbed Irina to death. And we gathered, obviously, to have those kind of discussions. But this gentleman, when he described what happened to his daughter Logan in Columbia, South Carolina, it was eye-opening. I mean, this guy had been arrested 39 times, 25 felonies, and it was amazing.
It's outrageous is what it is. Let me ask you one more thing before I let you go. Charlotte Mecklenburg right now has 1,900 sworn officers, give or take, about 200 short of what they should have, just like every city in America. The war on the police, defund the police, this whole idea from the left that police are the enemy has really created problems in law enforcement. If you're 200 officers short in Charlotte Mecklenburg, how do you take care of the people? Last question to you.
Well, that's a great question. In fact, just this week, it's funny you asked that, just on Monday morning, the Fraternal Order of Police in Charlotte came out requesting that the National Guard be called in to Charlotte, because in their numbers, they said we're 300 short. I've talked to some other leaders, business leaders, who have looked more closely at it and said we're as much as 500 short. So we've got city elections coming up in November. We've got to hold candidates accountable. We've got to hold our elected leaders accountable and recognize this is not going to fly. And the people of Charlotte have got to open their eyes and recognize what these soft on crime, left-wing policies are doing to destroy a lovely, lovely city, and a city that everyone has enjoyed for the years. So something's going to give, and I'm anxious to see as people step up and we continue to shine the spotlight on it.
Well, Congressman, I appreciate you putting the spotlight on it today. It's important. Keeping career criminals out of our neighborhoods and keeping people safe is job one for government. Yes. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, Steve.